Thanks for listening to A Little More Conversation. I'm Ben O'Hara-Byrne. Tonight, we meet a BC entrepreneur who is making it her mission to create safety gear and clothing tailored for women in the skilled trades where so much of what's on offer just doesn't fit. Well, this is a really fascinating story, I thought, because for years now, of course, there's been a really concerted effort to try and encourage more Canadians to find a career in the skilled trades. And that is especially true of late when it comes to promoting it as a career option for women. Here is one example of the kind of campaign from WorkSafe BC out here in BC. That's the province's workplace safety body.
I like working with my hands.
I don't think I could ever sit at an office job.
It's better than sitting behind a desk and staring out the window all day.
I wanted to try something different.
I love it. I like to learn.
The Women in Trades program was designed to increase the number of female apprentices in the province of BC and to provide support to women to kind of address some of the barriers for them entering careers in the skilled trades.
Of course, there are many traditional barriers to overcome, but some of them are as basic as finding the proper gear, safety gear for the job, including personal protective equipment or PPE. In what has traditionally been a man's world, the companies providing stuff like hard hats, vests, footwear, gloves are kind of stuck in a bit of a time warp. A November report by Canadian Standards Association found that 92% of about 500 women construction workers surveyed reported one or more problems with their PPE. 92% of 500 women surveyed personal problems with their, and this is on construction sites. This is a safety issue. Across the 3,000 women in various professions, the CSA polled, only 6% regularly wore PPE that was actually designed for women. And that's where my next guest's story begins. Jodi Huettner was working in the environmental engineering a decade ago, or was, and quickly realized the gear that she was required to wear was definitely not built for her. So she started to alter it, and that spread, and an idea was born. Make stuff that fits properly for the people who are actually going to wear it. And Jodi joins me now to tell us more about Helga Wear. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Ben.
Yeah, it is a fascinating story because if you look at all the products that are not made properly for women, safety gear is one of them. I mean, we've read it across spacesuits; it's all over. But this was a big issue for you. How did you come face to face with it?
Oh, well, I'm going to be quite blunt. My biggest problem working on the coast of BC, out in Mother Nature, on remote sites, trying to be a young professional woman in engineering, wearing PPE that literally made me look like I was wearing my dad's work clothes, like I was playing dress up. So apart from looking like I did not belong, I did not deserve to be there managing a team of people, every time I had to take a quick leak, unlike my male counterparts, like I couldn't just zip behind a bush and do what I had to do literally while I was still working. It was a big deal for me to try to go to the bathroom. I really had two options. Neither were very good. One was walk out of line of sight of my colleagues, which is not allowed, and then half strip and take a quick leak, or call in the only vehicle on site to have someone else stop what they're doing, pick me up, take me to the only working facility, wait for me, and bring me back. And so that cost my team, that put me back in terms of schedule and budget, which meant I sacrificed being on the best chosen teams for field work. And in my annual reviews, I was always behind. And that to me made no sense. Like that time cost in and of itself was just unreal. And then when I did what my female co-workers were doing, which is don't drink anything, no coffee at your morning break, no water until you get dizzy or headachy in the afternoon. And then if you have to go to the bathroom, you hold it. That's the actual option women were using at the time. So I could not stand it. That was
either a safety concern or a career setback, right? It's not. This isn't about comfort or looking normal. This is really much more profound than that. What did you do? I mean, I gather you sort of started to alter it yourself, and then that kind of caught on.
Yeah, so I altered my own gear. I went through a bunch of prototypes before I found something that didn't get me laughed off the site and that I could use pretty discreetly. And I found it saved me about an hour a day. And then I started doing it for my female coworkers because we got to expense a new set of gear every year. So I would ask people for their last year's set of gear, and I would just try Frankensteining it to, make it work for them like I made my gear work for me. And when I finally came up with something that saved me about an hour a day and, like I said, didn't get me laughed off the site, I thought, well, heck, we should have more options for PPE for women. And why not try? If this helped me, it's got to be able to help someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm well aware of just how much we've been trying to, we're trying to encourage women to work in the trades, but the idea that they can't find anything that fits them, that stat from the Canadian Standards Association that 92% of construction workers reported one or more problems with their PPE. It seems astounding that so much of what's out there just isn't made for what should be about half the workforce, right?
Yeah, and it's because we don't really have to make things for women as it stands. For me, as a manufacturer, when I was looking to the regulations to try and figure out how I would construct my gear so that I met all the specs, I turned to CSA, for example, CSA Z96, which is the High Visibility Safety Apparel Standard. And there is a section under there that talks about how gear is to be constructed. Specifically, it says it has to be constructed to remain in place on the wearer for the duration of foreseeable work. And an adequate means to make that happen is to provide a range of sizes. So that was my first eye-opening experience that said, wow, right there, they're telling us that women are pretty much no more than scaled-down versions of men. And that's just not true. We cannot, the CSA study actually says we cannot linearly scale men's dimensions and adequately represent women's dimensions. It's just not possible. This is not new. This is just finally catching up to us in terms of PPE.
Yeah, and good. And you've set out to try to fix this at least as much as you can.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, when I targeted on that language, I started talking to anybody who would talk to me, the BC Centre for Women in Trades. Everyone who took a look at that language said, yeah, that's a big problem. And we really have to start acknowledging the distinct nature of women's proportions, especially when it's a matter of safety, like PPE.
So you started to make your own, right? I mean, this is what you've started to try to make clothes that actually fit the people they're meant to fit and provide the kind of safety they're meant to provide.
Yeah. So I did that. I actually got the unique opportunity in 2019 to develop flame retardant safety coveralls for the tradeswomen of C-SPAN, which is a huge shipbuilding company out west here. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, I got to learn about the problems they were having with fit, which it centers on safety coveralls. If you can imagine trying to fit a woman into a man's safety coverall, they typically fit for their biggest dimension, which is chest, torso-ish area. If it fits there, then yeah, obviously it's going to be way too long in the sleeves, too long in the cuffs at the bottom of the legs. But what people don't think about is that the shoulder span's also going to be too wide, which restricts your arm mobility for any overhead work you do. And overhead work, like electricians and welders, they spend more than 75% of their day doing overhead work. So now their arm mobility is restricted, and then also it means the crotch height hangs way too low. So anytime you want to bend your knee to about a 90 degree, you're restricted. You have to first pull up your crotch of your garment just so that you can bend your knee. And that affects, in shipyards, anytime you step over a sill, and there are tons of those, anytime you climb ladders, you can't even do an effective 3-point climb without every other rung letting go of the ladder to yank up your crotch height just so that you can make the next ladder rung.
I mean, it must have a real impact on women looking to go into the trades when you think, wait a second, I can't find anything. I don't feel comfortable. I'm inhibited by what I'm wearing, and I'm not safe.
Yeah, unfortunately, I see us pummeling money into incentivizing women and trades training. But the unfortunate truth is the second they get out there in the field, they're going to have to start working in a man's world where everything has been designed for their experience, for their body proportions, for them, right down to the PPE. So I feel like until we start making significant investments into the women already working in trades, specifically with PPE, we're not going to retain them. We can get as many of them attracted into trades as we can, but they're going to figure it out pretty quick that it's just not designed for them.
So what would you like to see with your company? I mean, you've started this and you're trying to provide this, fill this gap. Where to from here?
Where to from here? So pushing forward with getting support for the fact that it's time now. It was time years ago, but it's definitely time to start paying the premium, because yes, it does cost more. We don't have the economy of scale that we have when we're making men's PPE. We're just not there yet. So what I'd like to see, there's something from every single stakeholder. We all have a role going forward, right from the women, the boots on the ground, the women who need to start reporting every near miss that has to do with their PPE, the men they work alongside, the allies that see the women struggling and aren't writing it on their daily job safety analyses forms. We need to see it escalate. We need to see our joint occupational health and safety teams take it seriously, see these things instead of pass-fail binary enforcement. Are you wearing your PPE or aren't you? We need to move past that and say, well, does it fit? Is it actually an extra hazard to you? So we need to move past the way we've, business as usual on that level. On a manufacturing level, we need to see policy so that manufacturers can't do what is a very common practice right now, which is offering women's sizes. You don't see my air quotes, but they're there. Yeah. And what they actually are doing is just down labeling the men's PPE. So it's still a man's garment. It's been based off of male body dimension and proportion, but they've relabeled it. So we need to see policymakers and the enforcement community, everybody needs to kind of step in and take a real gendered lens, look at what we're doing and start making some significant changes to actually design the experience for women.
Well, the company is called Helga. Where Jodi, thank you so much for filling us in on this. I really had no idea, and it's been very educational just reading your story than hearing you talk about it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.